Oh mate, it's always goddamn something. I want to know what's causing that, because it's not like VR chat has like an update every damn day or every couple of days. Or does it? Is it just something that I've only just noticed? Because every time it validates, I have to rebuild shader caches on the Linux on Proton, and it's annoying as balls because sometimes it can take the longest time. Alright, how you all doing? I've got a mission. It's not important because I've done everything else, and you know, I need some homework. I've been told that's what my days off can be. It's not full work, it's homework. It's other little jobs that I've been putting off all week, which I don't like doing. It's just annoying because then things stack up and then you have to catch up, and no. I need something to just kind of make my brain tick over and not want to explode the planet, because I've already had to unblock a toilet today and it's not even dinner time yet. So, right, portable SSD, USB cable. I put a USB card in Belial on my PC yesterday. I want to install Fedora on this with the aid of this, because now I can plug in USB-C cables. I can't plug them into the front of my case. It's got a USB-C header on it, but I haven't got my board's naff. So this plus this on board, go Fedora, because I want to plug this into my laptop. Also, at least I can have a portable-ish Linuxy install on the go. I wanted to do this ages ago, but I've just not done it. I think actually that might have been the purpose of this drive at one point or another. So, goal for the day, maybe. Woo! I can't stress how useful it is actually having your computer on a wheelie board to be able to get to the back of it. Like, that just seems like such a trivial addition, but so useful. Alright, we're also going to unplug the red cable. That's my Linux drive. So now there's no drives plugged in other than the M2. That's my Steam game drive. So there's no way I can screw this up. Ventoy again. Can't stress how much I love this program. First major issue. When I had everything plugged into the USB-C port on the back of the machine through the PCIe expansion card, didn't recognise the drive. So, I've kind of crippled the installation a bit, or I'm going to cripple the installation process, because I've got it plugged into a port on the back of my monitor. But the cable I'm using is only USB 2, so USB 2C. If anyone's curious as well, like before the wheels, how do I plug things into my machine? USB 2 extension, because nothing super hardcore was going to ever be plugged in. That was going to be unplugged, plugged in, unplugged, plugged in. So USB 2 wasn't that big of a deal. But right now I've got USB 2 for the installation media, USB 2 for the drive we're going for. We're going to install too. Well. I've got time. Cross your fingers this works. We'll probably be here all day though. Or I'll probably just format the wrong drive. There was only one. Right, so installation wasn't actually as bad as I thought it was going to be, even over USB 2. But I have found, so two things during the process. One, Fedora didn't like me reformatting the drive from NTFS to ext4 or whatever it was that Fedora wanted to use. I had to format it first and then go through the installation process, otherwise it would just error out. And then the other one is that my machine really doesn't like it when you try and plug bootable media into the USB-C ports directly of the little expansion card I popped in yesterday. Not that big of a deal though, because if you go into my work bag, it's loaded with stacks and stacks and stacks of cables. It's overflowing with different types of cables, C, 8, C, just all of it, right? Varying speeds and types and all that kind of stuff. Because whilst, you know, it's more weight to carry, I would rather have more than I need, and then go to somewhere, have something fail, have something and not need it, than need it and not have it. And so there's Fedora installed on the little SSD. Login. Alright, the moment of truth. Check the UEFI just to make sure that I hadn't tried to install Linux on this machine before. I was pretty sure I hadn't, but occasionally Linux does things in your UEFI that annoy me. Like I have a few machines where you install, you uninstall, there's still an entry in your UEFI, and it's dirty, I don't like it. Hooked up the SSD to my little hub, connected up to my Zephyrus, power on, spam escape, because that's your boot menu, the button, and then just whap the SSD, job done, and then it boots. Then there's an error, kernel error. But the Macs, it still boot. That's still boot, just it can't use the proprietary. That's not a big deal. Don't panic. I figured it out, right? I was a bit of a nuggie, so it works surprisingly well. I really can't put into words how well that actually works. But so what was the problem with it kind of going, there's a kernel error, we're going back to the open drivers. What basically happens there is that it can't fire up the old proprietaries, it can't load the NVIDIA GPU, and so it falls back onto the open drivers and the built-in AMD graphics card on the Zephyrus G14. The little kind of like APU low power, sippy power graphics card. And I went a bit nug on it first, and I was like, maybe I've installed the wrong drivers, because I installed everything on Belial, which shows how flexible Linux actually is, because that was just a straight swap, and you're going to go, yeah, but it didn't work. So I uninstalled the drivers. I was on like 510, I think. Just wiped everything NVIDIA off the machine. Whapped on 470, I think. Restarted, same issue. And I was like, okay. Removed NVIDIA drivers again, reinstalled 510. Same issue. Is there anything that I've forgotten? I wonder. That can be a thing, could it? Went into my BIOS and turned off Secure Boot. I completely forgot to turn off Secure Boot. I didn't think this would be a thing, but by having Secure Boot enabled, it would allow me to boot into Linux, but it wouldn't allow Linux access to my NVIDIA graphics card. Turn it off, that kernel error goes away, and it boots and just goes BAM! NVIDIA GPU, all in, all the time. No menu to select, it goes NVIDIA. It just ignores my AMD GPU, which is beautiful, because that's one thing I fucking hate about a lot of these kind of modern laptops, or at least before this current generation, the 2022 models. Beforehand, you had to buy specific machines that just had big boy beefy GPUs in them. If they had the dual setup, the low power and then your dedicated high power graphics card, you could end up having tons of problems where software would kind of half render on one, part render on another, and they didn't communicate properly, which is what I theorized the issue was with the Oculus Quest and the Oculus Link software, that if you had two GPUs, they wouldn't communicate. Like the Oculus Link software would be trying to render on your low power graphics card, your game that you're trying to play would be on your big boy powerful graphics card, and because they don't have, there's no crossover for them, so it didn't work. Oculus Link being so you could play your PC VR on your Oculus headset. It was a mess. And I've mentioned before how back in the day I've had like games would run, and then like the cutscenes would render on the wrong graphics card, so you just end up with a black screen. Or you'd try and stream them or capture them, and they would be running on the wrong card. So the capture software would be running on one card, the game would be running on another card, and it was a nightmare. It was absolutely terrible. So when I went from a G550JK to a GL503 VM from Asus, And the first one had the dual GPU thing, and I hated it. The laptop was great, still works well to this day, but that pairing, I hated it. So then with the GL503 VM, all it had was a 1060 in it, just 1060. It ignored like everything else. It was just 1060 all the way, nothing to complicate things. But that was terrible on Linux because the drivers for the trackpad were just wank. To be completely honest, they were terrible. But, well, in my opinion, I didn't like faffing with it, to be fair, okay? Probably a lot better now, but unnecessary now. And so then when I got the Zephyrus G14, the same nightmare from the G550JK turned up where I had the dual graphics cards. Some laptops, as I say, just don't have it, or they have a mux switch which disables the low power graphics card. Now, in 2022, pretty much every laptop manufacturer gives you a mux switch to disable the low power graphics card, because no fucker wants it. No one wants it. Even on the Linux thing, I thought to myself, people are just going to say, but if you're just running the NVIDIA GPU balls deep all the time, what about your battery life? I don't care, because it works. Woo! Like, I don't care. But your battery life, you're only going to get about an hour. So, dude, tell me, when am I going to have like a multi-thousand-pound laptop anywhere away from a plug socket for any extended period of time? If I can get like 2 hours out of the damn thing, rocking. Right, you're on a train, there's a plug socket. You're on a goddamn, you're in a coffee shop, there's probably a plug socket. You go to a pub, they'll let you have access to a plug socket. You go to an office, there's going to be a plug socket. Like, pretty much everywhere you go, you're just going to have a plug socket. And you can use the low power card, but I mean, for me personally, I'd never use the low power card for anything anyway, which would only give you a few hours all the same. But it worked really, really, really well. Really well. I mean, there was nothing scripted for the ROG button. There's an Asus button on there. That does nothing. You could script that to launch like Steam or OBS or something. And I think like some of the more specialist buttons on there, like there's like a dedicated capture button or something like that. That doesn't work, but again, you could script it to do something. But like everything else, like the backlights, the volume, mic mutes, all that, they work. They just work. And I was like, wow, the trackpad works, the screen works, it looks good. You know, this is fantastic. It's absolutely great. I didn't try connecting like external monitors or anything to it. I mean, the Wi-Fi worked. I didn't try Bluetooth either, but the Wi-Fi worked. Everything that I would immediately use was there working. Great. Absolutely great. Was even tempted to just go out and buy an M2 SSD off of Amazon, because they're currently on sale at the moment. Pull the Windows drive out, put the Windows drive in a caddy, and I would use that as the external drive and just boot hardcore into Linux. Because other than like my guitar stuff, my software amps and all that, like that just worked. No headache with a dual GPU setup. No headache. It just goes, fuck you, AMD, and just goes straight to the powerful one. Or I should say, fuck you, sippy low power. Let's go for the hardcore one. So, that's great. Linux has come a long way with that kind of stuff. That would have been a nightmare back in the day. At least back in the 550JK days, that would have been terrible. And that was back in like 2011, something like that. Terrible. But now I was like, yeah, boy, done. Well impressed. Well impressed. So now I've got my little SSD floating about. I'm going to copy over some of my .dot files, my config files, and pop those over onto there, and that's what'll have my IRC and all that on there. It's great. Only trouble is though, if you want to reboot into Windows, secure boot turned off, you have to get your key for it, and so just turn back on secure boot, and But that was great. That was really good. Well chuffed. Well chuffed. I've never used Linux on a laptop that powerful before. It's the same as I'd never used Linux on a proper powerful computer until we built Doomslayer and Belial. I'd always run it on kind of older, lower end gear, and man, it sings on good hardware. Sings on pretty trash hardware too, but when you give it that flex, ooh, so good. So good. Alright, but I'm going to head off. Because, you know, I don't want to extend this out any longer than I have to. Yeah, just secure boot. Random, that. No, I get to watch as this machine just destroys rendering this video in like 2 minutes. Hope you're well, and I'll see you all with a bit of luck in the next one.